Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. Entitled Ex-Girlfriend Wants the Engagement Ring I Never Gave Her because she broke up with me before I could propose. Gets arrested for her troubles. A while back I was dating this girl for roughly 2 years. I thought things were going great, but apparently she was just dating me because she liked to tell people she was in a relationship. Yes, that's how it went with her. The way she described me was too immature, decent in bed, and honestly not worth the rest of my life. Exact words she said to a friend of hers after we broke up. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I went out and bought a ring, had this entire thing planned out to propose to her. However, she was suddenly not available for several weeks in a row. Well, my fears rang true, as she suddenly showed up at my place one day, acted like everything was normal as we talked, and she was grabbing everything that was hers. About halfway through, I just kinda looked at her and said, "Don't forget your hair dryer. It would be awkward to have to come back over after you dump me." This sparked a long and awkward conversation where she was fake crying. I had realized right then and there that I was an idiot. The way she acted, the way she spoke, and the way she treated me just screamed that she did not care. I was devastated, but seeing her made me angry. I had realized she was lying to me this entire time. About a month later, a friend of hers called me up, asked if she could come over to talk. I asked why, and she said my ex pissed her off, and she wanted to tell me some things. My mind goes to horrifying things, like she needs to warn me I need to see a doctor or things like that. Well, her friend came over and we chatted for a while. See, her friend was beyond pissed off, talk about ending the relationship, pissed off at her. So her way to get back at her friend was to sleep with her ex-boyfriend. Me being in my mental state, I said yes. More like I said, sure, yeah, we can do that if you really want to. So she ends up staying over for a few days as we get to talking about my ex. I tell her about the ring, and she had the best idea to get back at my ex. Let's lay down in bed and post a pic of ourselves with the ring in between us. Yeah, I thought it was a terrible idea, but I wanted my ex to feel like crap, so, well, there you go. Not even 2 hours later, my ex was at the door. We posted the picture at like 11 in the morning, and she was at my place at 12:40 something. Right off the bat, she tried to act like breaking up with me was a mistake. She said that I was the best boyfriend she ever had, and she was getting scared with how serious things were getting. She said she made a terrible mistake in breaking up with me. Well, her friend immediately goes into a rant about my ex, saying that she was manipulative, and that neither of us would believe this sob story she was giving. Gotta say, I'm very glad her friend was there, because my stupid self was believing my ex. I reminded her of how she treated me when we broke up, and that she should go home, that she was wasting her time. Well, now she brought up the ring, said she owed it under the law, said that rings are gifts, and that I cannot take it back. In unison, me and her friend said that I never gave it to her. We both looked at each other and laughed a bit, as the absurdity of the situation was getting outrageous. She said she was owed that ring, and that she was not leaving without it. At about this time, a police officer came up the stairs wanting to know what the trouble was. I guess we made enough noise that neighbors called the police. The female officer asked what the situation was. Everyone tried to talk at once, and the officer shut us down, pointed to my ex and asked her what the problem was. She said she was trying to pick up her stuff after we broke up. She asked me if it were true. I explained the situation, how my ex broke up with me before I had the chance to propose, and that she was never given the ring. Throughout the conversation, 2 more officers showed up, and one a supervisor. The whole story was explained like 4 times. At one point, my ex said that the money from the ring will let her pay off her car. Have you ever seen a moment when someone says something so outrageous that everyone looks at them in utter disgust? I responded with that the ring isn't expensive, it was bought off of a website, and I reminded her that I am an IT tech, so this wasn't a ring that was 10 to 12K, more like 1 to 1.5K. The anger and rage that came over her face was immediately apparent to everyone. She stepped forward and punched me in the chest and kicked at me before being tackled to the ground by the female officer. The supervisor on scene told us to go inside while they get her under control. We did, and about 10 minutes later they came back. They wanted my statement. I told them I didn't want to press charges against her, but they said, yeah, it doesn't work like that. We saw it, so it's being processed. She ended up getting misdemeanor offense for it. Now for the top comments. Engagement rings are the legal exception to the gift rule. In most places, it's a gift in contemplation of marriage. She would have had to give it back anyways. I learned that from Judge Judy. I answer to a higher Judy, Judith Martin. Miss Manners says that in polite society, an engagement ring should remain the property of the person who did not end the engagement. Accommodations may be made for family heirlooms, providing a ring or other compensation of equal monetary value is expected. Said she owed it under the law, said that rings are gifts and that I cannot take it back. That's hilarious. 1. You never got engaged. 2. You never gave her the ring. 3. And most importantly, even if you had given her the ring and she then broke up with you, legally she would have to return it. An engagement ring is given as a token and promise of marriage. If the marriage does not happen, she has to return the ring anyway. You dodged a greedy bullet there. Unless it was given to her on a holiday, such as Valentine's Day or Christmas. In that case, it can be considered a gift rather than consideration pending fulfillment of a contract. And that is why holiday proposals should be treated as money bet in Vegas. If it all goes south, you are never getting it back. Always press charges. That way the perp might learn their lesson. It also creates a paper trail in case of escalation down the road. And as a warning to future people contemplating a relationship with this type of person. Next story. Cheat and lie about why we broke up. Enjoy being disowned and cut out from your family. This happened between me 25 male and my ex 24 female over the past few months. I will keep it short but keep all important details. To start, the first month, February, was amazing, like a dream relationship. We had been friends for a while before when she suddenly confessed. I had hid my feelings as we were meant to only be friends, so I jumped at the opportunity stating my feelings. The second month was not as bad, only having a single argument as she invited her neighbor over to what was supposed to be a date. After talking it out, we sorted it and made up. The third month was when the problem started. We had planned out date to be on a set as she had work on our usual Friday times. I understood and changed the day of the restaurant I booked to then. I hadn't told her as I wanted it to be a surprise instead of the usual home movie, but she knew to keep that day clear and to dress well for the date. Only an hour before the date, she texts me saying that she won't be there tonight as she was going to see a movie with a friend. I was honestly furious as I had already paid the pre-book fee and told her over a week in advance. I tried to call but her phone was off. I called her best friend and he had no idea what was happening either. The next morning I talked to her and she argues with me saying I should have told her it was a restaurant meal. After about an hour of argument she finally admitted that she was wrong for what she did. I accepted that and we took a day break to calm down and clear any bad feelings. After that, the relationship started to decline. I stayed the same, but she started to get more and more distant. Then eventually after 3 weeks of no intimacy, not even kisses, I confronted her asking what's going on. She says she needs a week to think and wanted to be single for that. I told her I don't mind taking a break if that's what she needs, but I don't see why being single is needed for that. She argued it's for her freedom, and I realized it was for another guy. We broke up and she spread lies about me cheating and harming her. Thankfully, the friends she spread it to wouldn't believe her, as we had all known each other for years, with her being introduced to them through me. Her best friend had tried to defend me and she had blocked him. But he knew her friend group, and through them we discovered that she had been cheating the last 3 weeks of the relationship as well as the friend she went to the movies with, being a Tinder hookup, then left me to start dating the new guy. To nobody's surprise, he blocked her after she tried to start dating him. Soon she dropped out of university as the guy had uploaded the videos of her cheating to adult sites, and it spread throughout her university. Then I decided I wanted revenge. It wasn't much as I knew her parents and were really close. They knew nothing that was going on and assumed we just broke up. Her parents, though, are super religious along with her grandmother. So although painful, I found the links to the videos, downloaded them, and took screenshots of all the breakup. Then I contacted her family saying I had something I wanted to share, created a group chat with her parents, grandmother, and ex-best friend. Then I unloaded all screenshots and videos, along with a text message explaining everything that's happened. There was no contact for about a week, then her ex-best friend filled me in on the situation. She had lost her scholarship due to dropping out of university. Her grandmother, after seeing the proof, cut her from the will and disowned her, followed by her parents, and her being evicted from the house as well as support cut off. She now is working a minimum wage job and sharing a home with friends. Edit. For all those calling me a bad person, I know. It's nuclear revenge, not AITA. And for those who can't read, she attempted to pin abuse, which would make me lose my job. And I did not upload the videos, only shared to her family for proof. After that it was out my hands and went further than I thought. I was waiting for this to go nuclear, and then the last 2 paragraphs came in. Bloody hell, that must have left a mark. Thing blew harder than Hiroshima. This feels like it should be on the shame page. The Tinder guy felt so strongly about her that he blocked her, created and uploaded revenge videos. You found it, and then you destroyed her life with it. Over a 3-month relationship to a long-term friend. Hell, it fell apart in 3 months so badly that she was cheating that obviously. Are you saying you've had no red flags from when y'all were friends? because she spread rumors that he was harming her. This wasn't just for cheating. It was for the slander dished to him after that, which could have very likely ruined his social life. Why are people in the comments section acting like this is an AITA thread? The whole point of this sub is telling stories of overboard reactions lol. Right. I actually found it very fitting of the sub. She cheated and tried to badmouth OP. I honestly think she kinda deserved a punch of reality and consequences of her actions. Is OP kind of a jerk? Yes, but that is exactly why you don't antagonize people who you don't know what they are capable of. Last story. My ex started hurting me again, so I ruined her college education. I, 21 male, met my ex-girlfriend Renee, 20 female, 4 years ago when we were 17 and 16 to be specific. We were off and on because of her behavior and mine as well. It was toxic and we weren't best suited. I was untrusting and cold some days. She was always drinking and going out with other people, and couldn't be bothered with me unless she had a bad day. She constantly went out drinking, sending explicit pics to other guys, hooking up, and then blaming it on assault so I wouldn't freak out. And I handled it poorly by being strict and creating rules, and being way too overprotective of her, which I can admit is my bad. But she always made me the source of her issues, and blamed me for her parents hating her, her sister being mean to her, not having a social life, even though I stopped her from self-harm when I met her, helped her finish high school, and helped her get a scholarship to my local university. We finally broke up when she moved here for college from a few states away almost 2 years ago. When she was 19, started dating a minor behind my back. I went on with my life and she went on with hers. I met somebody and we had a perfectly healthy relationship, and she brought out the best in me and made me become a better person. Until a month ago when I lost her to complications in her life and she had to leave. I grieved as I needed and continued trying to do better like she always wanted for me. Flash forward a week ago when Renee and I ran into each other and started talking again, told her how my life was going, she talked about hers. And we started being friends again. She knew I was grieving, and at first was incredibly sympathetic, and I figured we could have a good friendship. After a day she started comparing me to her new boyfriend, 21 male, and making fun of me for things I lacked, and would rub in my face how better he is at everything compared to me. The shoe dropped when she started rubbing in my face about hooking up with him, and how it must suck knowing I can't again with my ex. I'm fine with being insulted, but bringing her up knowing my pain pushed a line. I told her to knock it off and don't talk about it, and she proceeded to treat me like a client at her job. She helps mentally disabled people and knows I have a slight disability, and kept telling me that if I don't want to be talked to like that, then stop telling her what to do. She gets drunk one night and starts yelling at me about our relationship and all the issues she endured while being with me. I apologized and made my amends, because I can agree I wasn't always the best. Never expected her to apologize for hers, but made clear how sorry I was for my part, as I know I wasn't always correct, and she finally went to bed. Next night she calls me at 1 a.m. She gets incredibly drunk. Starts calling me names and saying I'm mean because she's bringing up being intimate with her boyfriend, and how she's doing it while texting to me, and I get sick of it and tell her to go away. She makes comments that she's gonna keep screwing him, to where I make a comment of, "That's nice, now if only he could satisfy," which brought her boyfriend into a rage and threatening to shoot me. And then Renee pipes up and says she should go find my ex and tell her how horrible I used to be and ruin everything, so if the day comes where she can come back, she will never want to see me again. QI nuclear revenge. They both were college students living in the dorm on scholarships. The college has a rule against alcohol, and you will lose your scholarship if caught with it. So I contacted the police, gave them her dorm number, explained she's underage drinking, her boyfriend is supplying the alcohol, and she's currently hooking up in the dorm with him. Police show up, dorm roommates let them in, knock on the door, catch her drunk with all sorts of alcohol from over state lines. My state has a lesser alcohol rating, so stuff from the next state over is double in alcohol percentage, and catch them both obviously doing it while she's drunk. She ends up charged with underage drinking. He's charged with giving alcohol to a minor, and is looking at added assault charges because he got her drunk and then screwed her while she's under the legal age. And both of their scholarships were lost and were expelled, and now both have to leave town, and they both live in entirely different states. She wants to make me feel lesser. Enjoy losing your education. Maybe it's young people, but why even start talking to a toxic person again? Maybe it's because after so many years, the person might have matured somewhat. I say might, as some people never change. I believe in giving people the benefit of the doubt, but treat me badly again and that's it. No more chances. After so many years. Sounds like it was a year. No toxic person matures enough in that amount of time, especially not at 19. I know when people are younger, half a year or a year feels like a lot of time has passed, and you're potentially reconnecting with a whole new person, but it's barely any time at all. It definitely qualifies for the sub, but I feel like nearly everyone in this story needs to mature a little. And in like 10 years, they're gonna look back and be embarrassed by all this. I agree, but this person is owning up to the fact that he had some mishaps he apologized for. Why didn't you just block her when she started comparing you to her boyfriend and mistreating you again? No one needs that crap, dude. She sounds incredibly toxic. Additionally, what if she finds out you reported her and got her in trouble? She sounds petty enough to want revenge. Nah, that witch deserved it. Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. 1 year update. Cheating, divorce, exposure of her cheating, restraining order. And 1 year later I'm living my best life. Original post. I 34 male, met her online a decade ago doing a 52 books in 52 weeks reading challenge. She 36 female, posted that she was undergoing chemo or radiation for stage 4 cancer. I organized a care package and sent it to her. I had no romantic interest in her and didn't even know what she looked like at the time. She messaged me a couple of days later saying that she cried when she saw the package at her doorstep. Nobody has ever done this thoughtful for me before. We continued to exchange messages and became friends over our shared interest in books. Eventually, the friendship morphed into a long-distance relationship. I flew to Texas to see her. She flew to Pennsylvania to see me. Back and forth, back and forth. In 2015, she permanently moved to Pennsylvania. I put a down payment on a house as she was broke, proposed to her 11 months later, and we got married the following year. She had a laundry list of psychiatric problems, bad anxiety, severe depression, horrible PTSD from assault, etc., which I was aware of but didn't realize their severity until we started to live together. But I was committed to her at that point. Like penguins, I commit for life. The good times, the bad times, and everything in between. Over the next 7 years, I was there for every low point in her life. By the time our marriage was ending, she was at the highest point in her life. All her psychiatric problems were under control. Her career was blossoming while working from home the entire time and making the most money she's ever made. She later wrote in court documents that I made her take that job so I can control her. The weasel she was cheating on me with lived in New York, and she used the need to visit the company's office in New York as a cover to see him for at least 2 years. I started seeing him before COVID started, is all I got out of her because she didn't want to talk about the affair. She was most likely cheating on me the entire time we lived together, because she's been making these trips to the New York office since 2015. In 7 years of living together, we had one fight. On our honeymoon in Key West, Florida, she got so mad at me when I called to check up on my parents. We made up and she learned to accept that my parents are extremely important to me, and I continued to call them daily and she didn't seem to mind. Remove the stress of children as we didn't have any, and money as we both had great careers, and there was nothing much to argue about. What looked like a good marriage was in reality a parasite-host relationship. As I learned more about her toward the end of our marriage, I realized that this was not a woman. This is a parasite who used me to stabilize her life. Once I stopped serving her purpose, she discarded me like a piece of trash. In January 2020, we flew to Oklahoma and put down a down payment on a plot of land so she can be closer to her family. Construction on the house began the following months. We permanently moved to Oklahoma in August 2020. I left my family and friends behind in Pennsylvania where I lived for 20 years just so she can be happier. She was cheating on me while the house was being built. After D-Day, I asked her over and over, why didn't you just divorce me if you didn't want to be married, and just let me stay in Pennsylvania with my family and friends? Her only response was, I'm a coward. According to this gutless parasite, up until our marriage, she's never been in a relationship where she wasn't treated like crap. She was willing to drag it out and lead me on, until she was finally ready to monkey branch into her next relationship. Naturally, you might wonder why I didn't suspect anything for years. She was love bombing me. Every day she'd kiss me and tell me how much she loves me, how much she appreciates everything I do for our family. We had 2 cats and no kids. In my birthday card prior to D-Day, she wrote, I'm looking forward to us growing old together. Just a ton of smoke and mirrors to distract me. D-Day was December 12, 2021. She slipped up and gave me a reason to become suspicious. She was an alcoholic. She'd binge when I left for work at night, but sober for 1.5 years at this point. She said that she wants to fly to Chicago for an Alcoholics Anonymous conference. Sure, no problem. She bought a gift for her AA sponsor, who she claimed was one of the most important people in her life, but she left it at home. I thought that was very odd, but not enough for me to snoop. Later that weekend, she texted me, "I'm so messed up and going through the steps again." She never talked like that. I interpreted it as her getting drunk, which made no sense. You're around your sponsor and other AA members, and you got drunk. I googled to check if there was an AA conference in Chicago that weekend. There wasn't. For the first time in our marriage, I went through her iPad. I found photos of her doing it with another guy and screenshots of explicit messages he was sending to her. I'll post the full story in the future, my first and last journal entry. I will say that I made every mistake imaginable. I shed more tears than her. I considered reconciliation. I did the pick-me dance. I took her out on dates. I had slept with her, but the attraction faded very fast as I learned about her ugly personality. Soon I couldn't look at her hideous face any longer and ended all physical contact. But for the sake of not dragging this out for too long, I filed for divorce, and it was finalized less than 2 months after D-Day. She refused to tell people the real reason why we were getting divorced. She wanted to sweep the cheating under the rug. Eventually, she relented and said that she'd tell her parents. On February 1st, 2022, as she was moving out the last of her belongings, I asked if I can say goodbye to her mom, who was waiting outside. Her parents treated me like a son, as did the rest of the extended family. I told her mom, "Sorry that it didn't work out between your daughter and I," to which her mom responded, "That's okay. You were both equally responsible for this." Equally responsible. This pathological liar, I have screenshots of her lying about her identity online, must have lied to her parents and smeared my name to her parents. Hearing her mom say that set me off. At that moment, I decided to wait until all legal documents were signed to expose her. The parasite ended up paying through her teeth financially. She wanted an uncontested divorce in our no-fault state. I guess she didn't want to stand in front of the judge and talk about her cheating. I kept the fully furnished house and 70% equity. I kept the newer paid-off car. I kept the money I was putting away every paycheck toward my parents' retirement, with her approval. The moment she complained about the house equity split, I told her that I won't negotiate. Hire a lawyer, we are going to court to contest this. She didn't. I refinanced the house at a 2.75% fixed rate. What a steal. She went back to renting and signed a 1-year contract. The following month, the Fed began hiking interest rates to combat inflation. The mortgage rates have at least doubled since then. Because of that, she will end up paying tens of thousands of dollars more for waiting an extra year to buy a house. On March 7, 2022, I sent a 9-page email describing her cheating in explicit details to her entire immediate and extended family. 14 people in total. I spared the sweet little grandma from reading that smut, who are all devout Christians whose lives revolve around the church. I then contacted her manager at work and outed her cheating. I contacted the CEO of her company and did the same. 5 days later, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, there was a sheriff standing with papers in his hands. I was served with a restraining order for harassment and stalking. To make her case stronger, she lied and wrote that I also harmed her. She asked the judge to order me to enroll into a DV program. Mind you, I've never raised my voice nor my hand at this woman even after what she did to me. This is someone who makes impulsive decisions without considering long-term consequences. She lied and wrote that I never let her leave the house alone. I made her work from home so I can control her. I controlled what kind of makeup and hairstyle she could wear. I mistreated our cats. That I made posts on this subreddit saying that women in other countries get jailed or killed. I made a post on this sub saying cheaters, not women, are punished for infidelity by fine and even jail in other countries. She replaced cheaters with women and fine with killed to make me appear violent. You should have seen the dumb look on her face when I brought that piece of evidence to the courtroom, and my lawyer made her read it out loud. In the end, she still ended up standing in front of a judge in a packed courtroom and being exposed as a cheater, something which she desperately tried to avoid earlier. After multiple delays, I finally had the restraining order hearing 6 months later. She looked like absolute crap when she walked in. Those 6 months have not been kind to her. It looked like she has gained more weight. She was already fat before. Her stomach fat still visible even though she tried her best to hide it. She tried to cover her acne scars with makeup, but it looked so bad, like a kabuki mask. Apparently my emails caused a lot of problems within the family. Of course, she never took any accountability and blamed me in the courtroom for sending it. The entire hearing lasted less than 10 minutes. She presented zero evidence. I had extensive evidence to disprove every single one of her claims, but only needed to present one. Months and months of credit card statements showing that she was going to stores, restaurants, cafes, etc. while I was at work. Photos of us out together and her wearing different hairstyles and makeup. At one point, the judge turned to her and asked, "Do you have any evidence to prove what you are claiming? Any witnesses who can corroborate what you are saying?" She replied, "No." And her case was thrown out due to lack of evidence. The only reason why I haven't pressed charges against her for false allegations of harm is because I don't want to be stuck in another 6-month-long legal battle with this parasite. In the courtroom, she tried to portray as if I was obsessed with her. I've moved on with my life a long time ago, and I'm exponentially happier than I've ever been while with her. I realize now that I was never happy with her. I was only content. Ironically, cancer brought us together, and I didn't find happiness until I excised the cancer out of my life. If she ever tries to contact me in the future, I'm going straight to police and pressing charges for false allegations of mistreatment. On the 1-year anniversary of D-Day, or Liberation Day as my friend calls it, I went out to celebrate. I celebrated because I averted a catastrophe by 11 days. A couple of weeks prior to D-Day, she and I were driving in the car. She turned to me and said, "I feel like you use me for intimacy, cooking, and laundry." Words cannot describe how horrible I felt as a husband. I felt like the worst husband in the world. I couldn't believe I made her feel that way. I pulled my mask up and tears started pouring down my cheeks. This is the first time I've ever cried in front of her. When we got home, she clarified that she feels like that because we don't share deep conversations. We talk about our daily life, but we don't have deep conversation. In retrospect, this parasite was projecting. In reality, she was using me the entire time. We had marriage therapy scheduled for December 23rd, but 11 days prior, I discovered her cheating. I must have had a guardian angel watching over me. Otherwise, I'd be in therapy now working on ways to make her happy while she is sneaking behind my back and cheating on me. Now for the update. 1 year ago, I discovered that the woman with whom I've been with for close to a decade was cheating on me. I posted on this subreddit 2 days after D-Day looking for support, because my support system was 1,000 miles away. I was so afraid to tell my parents. A year earlier, on Thanksgiving, my dad wrote that he is most thankful for one of his sons being settled in life, having a good career, and a family of his own. And once my brother has a family of his own, my mom and dad would succeed as parents. I honestly thought that my news would devastate them so much that they'd both end up in the hospital. Like many others, in my original post I blamed myself for her cheating. Why wasn't I a better husband so she wouldn't feel the need to seek attention elsewhere? Thankfully, this group stepped in and collectively advised me to file for divorce. I follow this subreddit closely, and to reciprocate for helping me through tough times, I will offer an update on my story. This one has a happy ending. Perhaps it will motivate you to go on your own journey of self-improvement, or provide the impetus to leave your cheating partner. Or at the very least, it will put a smile on your face reading about a cheater being exposed. After discovering her cheating, I was crushed. Self-esteem was gone. Self-worth non-existent. I decided to go on a journey of self-improvement to find my self-esteem and self-worth again. What helped me to regain my self-esteem was setting goals, then going out and achieving those goals. My weight loss journey started a couple of weeks prior to D-Day. Her cheating kicked it into another gear. I joined a gym a couple of days after D-Day. Over the next 11 months, I lost close to 60 pounds. A little over a month after D-Day, I signed up on a whim to run a marathon. I was still overweight at the time and hadn't run a mile since playing high school soccer. But I had 87 days to prepare, and I was determined to finish the marathon at any cost. I finished the marathon in a little over 5 hours. You can read more about my couch to marathon story here. After finishing the race, my self-esteem shot up. If I can do this, I can do anything I set my mind to. I'm currently looking for an endurance coach to train for a triathlon. A couple of months after the marathon, a friend challenged me to do a bodybuilding. It was so outside of my comfort zone to stand half naked in front of a large crowd, next to competitors who have much more experience than me and to be judged, but I accepted the challenge. With only 16 weeks to prepare, I needed professional help, so I hired a personal trainer. I have a collage of my physical transformation since D-Day, culminating in getting on a bodybuilding stage and winning a medal. At this point, I'm looking good and feeling good, self-esteem is through the roof, and I'm oozing confidence. I'm currently training for one more show in June and one in October 2023. I made a wager that I will take home the first place in my class in October. This year I've been purposefully putting myself outside of my comfort zone. After 10 years as a registered nurse working with adults, an opportunity came up to work with children. This is way outside of my comfort zone. Health problems, common medications, and communication in general is completely different between adults and children. but I jumped at the opportunity and have absolutely loved it. Today I work at a children's psychiatric hospital where we provide crisis intervention for homicidal and self-harming children ages 5 to 17. Since the divorce, I will double my income in the first fiscal year. The goal for 2023 is to bring in $200,000. I'm in the last semester for my master's degree, and I should be finished in the next couple of months. I took a 7-day, 10-state, 5,000-mile road trip to Montana with my best friend. While married, I always wanted to visit Montana but never pulled the trigger. We had an absolute blast. The highlight was going on a fishing charter, each one of us catching a 29-plus-inch lake trout, then cooking it at our lakeside cabin. The goal for 2023 is to cross off a bunch of other states on the visit every state in the U.S. bucket list. I'll be hitting Alaska, Pacific Northwest, and southeastern states. This year I've invested more time and money toward my health and well-being than I did for the past 10 years combined while married to her. I attended 3 individual therapy sessions. My 4th session lasted 15 minutes. I had nothing to discuss about the past and wanted to focus on the future instead. As Wayne Gretzky said, I stake where the puck is going to be, not where it has been. The therapist said that he didn't feel like I needed any more sessions because I was doing so well. It's been a complete recovery at that point. I have no triggers. I used to get a recurrent nightmare of the two of them laughing at me, the clueless husband. Those nightmares stopped once she lied in the restraining order about me mistreating her. At that point I realized that this parasite doesn't have an ounce of care for me, so why should I for her? The weasel's birthday is 9 days before my own, and I completely forgot about it this year. On D-Day, or as my friend calls it, Liberation Day, I went out to celebrate. In regards of my romantic endeavors, I waited until the restraining order case against me was dismissed before pursuing women. I whiffed on my first try. I asked a co-worker 40-plus female out on a date and was hit with a "I'll think about it and I'll let you know" reply. Ouch. In my mind, if it wasn't an enthusiastic yes, then it's a no. A friend suggested the Hinge dating app. I had a bunch of success there. Lots of matches. Took one woman, 38 female, out on a date. I'll preface this by mentioning that the last time I courted a woman was a decade ago. We were sending each other love letters through snail mail. This woman and I clicked very well while messaging each other, and then, a couple of hours prior to the date, fireworks. I told her that I have the date covered and don't want her to reach in her purse to pay for anything. Also, that I will hold the door for her wherever we go. Well, she didn't appreciate that. You should have put that in your dating profile. This is 2022, and most women don't need a man to pay for them or hold their doors. Prior to this, I asked what her boundaries are regarding holding hands, hugging, and kissing on the first date. She said that she needs to feel comfortable just to hold hands on the first date. Fine, it will be an Amish date. It will be like taking my sister out on a date. Needless to say, it got tense a couple of hours prior to meeting up. I asked if she wants to cancel, no hard feelings if you do, to which she replied, "No, I'm intrigued by you." I could have canceled, but honestly, I wanted to see how much of a disaster the date will turn out to be. I imagined dinner to be the dinner scene from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, followed by the scene where they're trying to murder each other. We met up and actually had a great time. Had a drink, then took a private Latin dance class and had dinner afterward. No tense moments or awkwardness. At dinner I told her that even though I had a great time and found her attractive, I don't see this going past the first date. Even though we meshed well that night, we'd clash in the future because of our personalities. I walked her to her car. She was gushing over me the entire time. She gave me a long lingering hug and we parted ways. When I got home, she texted me, "It looked like you wanted to kiss me all night." I replied that I did, but I respected your boundaries. She followed that with, "Maybe I should have kissed you then." I told her to come over the next night to cook dinner at my place. She obliged. 24 hours later we were fooling around in my bed. She said that she wants us to date casually. Perfect for me. That gives me time to focus on my other goals. I ended up ending it with her a couple of days later because she disrespected me. After the parasite I was married to was so disrespectful toward the end of our marriage, I vowed to never let another woman disrespect me ever again. Had I started dating immediately after the divorce, I'd have probably put up with a lot of BS because my self-esteem was gutted at the time. And then I met my current girlfriend. I matched with a gorgeous Latina 33 female who was not only open to chivalry, but welcomed it. In our conversation, she said things like, "It would be an honor to go on a date with you." No woman has ever said that to me before. Since day one, she has done nothing but build me up instead of criticizing the way that parasite used to do. When we met up, she immediately went for a hug. She held my hand while we were still in the parking lot and waited for me to open her door throughout the night. At the bar, she touched my arm and shoulder while laughing. We went dancing, and while she was so much more experienced as a dancer compared to me, as I have no dancing experience and have 2 left feet, it felt so natural and sexy to dance with her. I didn't feel like a robot on the dance floor the same way I felt on the first date with the other woman. Our hands were all over each other and she was kissing my neck as we married all over the dance floor. At one point, the dance instructor left the room to let us do our thing. After dinner, I took her to my employee party because she loves to dance. I slipped the DJ $20 and requested her song. We danced while everyone else watched us. She had a beaming smile from ear to ear and rubbing up against me all night like a female cat in heat. By the end of the night, she broke her own rule of no French kissing on the first date. She came over to my house 3 days later, and we've been seeing each other every day since then. We deleted our dating apps after the second date and have been in a committed monogamous relationship ever since. We were born half a world away from each other, yet our cultures are so similar. I didn't expect to find someone like her this soon. I thought that I'd date a bunch of women before settling down. I knew that she is the one I wanted to pursue when a very pretty redhead from Hinge finally matched with me, and I had no desire to open her message to read it. What a year it has been. It started out in the worst possible way, and it's ending on the highest note imaginable. And the most exciting thing is that I feel like I've only scratched the surface. To culminate the success, I commissioned an artist to do this painting titled Rebirth of a Man for me. I told him in January 2022 about my situation, the beginning of my journey towards self-improvement, and where I see myself in the future. This was his interpretation. I had no expectations going in, and he still managed to blow them away. He delivered the painting to me shortly after I competed at the bodybuilding show. How appropriate. I hope that my story helps a bunch of you. It's so scary to leave the cheating partner. I've been there myself. At one point I considered reconciliation before finally pulling the trigger on divorce. But know that there is an exciting world out there beyond the walls of your current relationship. You will meet someone who shows you what a healthy relationship looks like. It wasn't until I met my current girlfriend I realized that I was never happy with the parasite I was married to. I was content well with her, but never happy. Man, overall good to hear you are prospering healthily and happily, but be sure you've removed any residual anger at women for what your ex did to you. The way you described interacting with other women in your dating life left me curious. Be sure it is mutually respectful and healthy. Or if that's not what you're looking for, be open and honest about it. I assure you that I am as calm as the summer breeze, and I treat my girlfriend with the utmost respect. Our communication has been superb so far. I've been completely open with her about my past as she has been with me. In fact, one of my non-negotiable stipulations for the next serious relationship after the divorce was that we start couples therapy immediately. I think of it as preventive care. Even if things are peaky, we will attend the monthly session and boast how awesome things are between us. She is fully on board. We will start couples therapy next month. As far as the woman whom I was married to, I will never forgive her for what she did to me. This is someone who understands trauma very well from personal experience and didn't hesitate once to inflict it upon me. This is the most selfish person I've ever met. Chemo and radiation must have destroyed a bunch of her brain cells, because normal human beings do not do what she did to me and her own family. Can I please ask a shallow question and know if you have rubbed that amazingly hard body in your ex's face? Please tell me she has seen it. I would never do that. I really don't care what she thinks of me or what she is doing with her life. It's inconsequential to me whether she found happiness or is burning in hell right now. I purposefully avoid the area of the city where she lives, just so I don't run into her by accident. Additionally, I'd never disrespect my current partner by contacting the woman I used to marry to.